Coming out, take a look at it. We got
Soundproof chamber.
Preview
Scream as loud as you can to win prizes.
Try it out. What's your name? And where are you from? Atlanta. That's quite a trip. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. She does live here. Whenever you're ready, come on in. All right. Whenever you're ready. That's a 91.7. Good job. Why don't you,
I'm in the Scream booth. Here we go. Ready?
All right, 95.8. People look at me. 95.8.
The same score twice.
Yeah,
Like
same
the
thing
score
twice.
Welcome to Star Wars: The Old Republic here at New York Comic Con 2011. Thank you very, very much for coming. So yeah, thank you very much for coming. This is actually the first of two panels that we're doing today. My name is Stephen Reed. I'm Senior Community Manager and unable to speak person. To my immediate left, we have James Evelyn, Game Director for Star Wars: The Old Republic, the man in charge. Do I look as much like a deer in the headlights as he does right now? Next to him, of course, needing no introduction, I'm sure, Daniel Erickson, Writing Director. And we lost someone who's going to be on the next slide, but I'll give you this as a preview because he's going to be there later on at 6:30. Drew Carpishin is also here at the show. Best-selling author of the Dark Age trilogy, and of course author of the upcoming Revenant, which is going to tell the story.
He's just sitting in the audience.
Don't out him. It would be very mean. We'll leave him there. He's good. Yeah, Drew will be with us on the panel at 6:30 tonight. And of course, on the far left of me, Corey Butler. With me in training and one of the live producers on the game. So now everybody knows everybody. Let's talk about the Old Republic. This one had a little bit to do with that one. And of course, as I say, it's 300 years after Knights of the Old Republic, so what we did was we put together 3 cinematic trailers, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. In return, we saw the beginning of our story, the retaking of Korriban, the ancient homeworld of the Sith Empire. Then in Hope, we see Republic heroes turn the tide of battle on Alderaan as the galactic struggle intensifies. And finally, in Deceived, we saw the climax of the Sith Empire's plan, their attack on Coruscant and the Jedi Temple, forcing a treaty and beginning a Cold War across the galaxy. Of course, the story doesn't end there, though. It continues straight into the game itself. And as part of either the Galactic Republic or the Sith Empire, you're going to be playing one of 8 character classes that are based on iconic Star Wars heroes and villains that you can see. So let's start with the reason I talk about number 1 is because we're only making one game. I hate to disappoint you, we don't have another one secretly squirreled away at the back of the studio. We're working on one game and one game alone, but the good news about that is it means that we are 100% committed to the Old Republic. The entire studio, and it is an army of people, we probably just about fit in this room. They're 100% committed to the Old Republic, and that's all we're working on. So we really are trying to build the best MMO that we possibly can. But we want to jump to really big numbers, so I'm actually going to hand things over to Corey Butler for a moment, who is from our live services team. Corey?
Thanks, Steve. So myself and the rest of the live services team, we all work at the studio there in Austin, Texas. There are thousands upon thousands of people playing the game right now as I speak. And they're playing on servers based across the US and Europe. And we're we're supporting those servers and those players 24/7. 4.8 million. So since last March, this is actually the number of hours our testers have spent in the game. 4.8 million hours.
Right around the corner from Corey's team is my team. Literally right around the corner of the office. The community team, you might think that all we do is sit around all day and read the forums. Sadly, that's not true. You know, what we do, and I mean, it would be hard to do that considering, and here's another big number, we get about 200,000 forum posts a week right now, on an average week. On a good week, like on our pre-audit week, we've got about 350,000. So it does take a while to read through all those posts. So that's not what we do all day. What we really do, the most important thing we can do, is basically sit between the players and the developers. So this is why, if need to be, I'll actually physically leap in front of these guys to prevent them from getting attacked or touched. And what we do is we talk to you guys, the players, and then we bring that feedback back to the devs, and then we also act as the voice of the developers back to you. Except in the case of Gail October, who posts every day, all the time. So he does that by himself. But, you know, we give the developers a voice. You know, they need to spend time developing the game and making it as best as they possibly can. And we try and explain the decisions as best as we can. So, you know, that's our primary focus. And this number is going to be explained by Mr. Daniel Erickson. So is this the number of writers you have on your team right now, Daniel?
No, not quite. We have actually had more writers than that at various points. Eventually, it turns out that Mass Effect and Dragon Age want their people back. So we're a little under that right now. No, what this is right now is this is the number of flashpoints that are going to ship at launch. Flashpoints are our group-based, beautifully put together, incredibly tightly scripted content. Sort of what you'd think of in an other MMO as a dungeon. They're your epic adventures. You can bring your friends. We did great iconic Star Wars pieces there. You can bring your companions if you're super brave and you want to try to do it that way before. We talked about some of the early ones. Some of the flashpoints we had tried to keep under wraps, mainly because of story concerns, spoiler concerns. But testing started, people started playing flashpoints. We talked about the Terral 5 flashpoints. We talked about the transition flashpoints. A few more we kept back. We kept getting the same thing from testing. We want more. More. And some of the objections were really good ones. Basically, the way the game functions is we give you experience points for anything you try to do. And people kept saying, okay, I can do just my class content and then just do PvP and level all the way up if I want to. I can just do the space game in my class content and level all the way up if I want to. Why can't I do flashpoints? Why can't I do that all the way through? So right now what we're telling you is there will always be a flashpoint of the appropriate level for you to go and do all the way through the leveling experience.
This summer. But this is not the last operation in the game. And we do have another one. But it's so secret that all we can do is give you a screenshot. Daniel.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to say anything about this unnamed operation?
Yeah. So there are huts. The huts are sort of the third major power in the galaxy. For those of you who've been paying attention to the game, they are the neutral faction that can stay neutral.
That represents the number of war zones in the game, though there is the open world war zone, which I don't think I'm allowed to talk about. So we'll just stick to the 3 war zones that I want to talk about.
Well, officially, open world PvP is not a war zone.
Don't confuse people. It's not a war zone. There's only 3 war zones.
So we've already announced 2 of the war zones. We have the Alderaan war zone and we have Hutball. So in the Alderaan war zone, you have the Republic and the Empire obviously fighting in Alderaan for control of a super laser that could turn the tide of the war. Hutball is really cool. It takes place on Nar Shaddaa, the moon of Hutta, controlled by the Hutts. And the Hutts there have the Republic and Empire playing a game against each other for glory and credits. And actually the cool thing about that war zone is you can actually play against people of your own faction. So the third war zone, we did talk about it back in April. It's called the Void Star. But we were making some changes to it due to feedback, so we decided to go dark on it for many, many months. But now we're going to give you a little glimpse of the Void Star, and I'm going to talk about some of the game mechanics that go along with it. Actually, first, we're going to have Satil Sean talk about
Introduce the Void Star team.
This is Grandmaster Satil Shan. We have discovered what appears to be the legendary prototype Imperial ship from the last war. If it really is the Void Star, this is technology we must recover. The Empire's already here. Make your way to the data core on the bridge and claim the technology. First, you need to override the nearby security terminal to open that door.
So this sets up a classic scenario that you're probably all very familiar with. We were inspired by Episode 4, the boarding action that starts off the entire Star Wars franchise. And so that's what this war zone is about. Basically, you have the Republic and the Empire boarding a capital ship and trying to get an objective, a computer core with very valuable information. So in the war zone, each side gets to play the role of the attacker. And the attacker basically has to move from zone to zone on the capital ship and set up explosives at key points and blow their way through bulk So there's
You're getting a little eager there, sorry.
I can talk now? All right. So there's 4 separate locations on the ship, and you have to get through each one of them. Now, even if you don't successfully get all the way to the core on the ship, the match will actually end and then restart with the opposite side now having to do the same thing, having to fight all the way through the ship while the opposite team tries to stop them. So what you saw there was one of the teams setting up explosives, and the other team trying to deactivate the explosive.
Nice try.
Republic team. We felt that the best kind of location for that would be the fleets of each respective side, the Republic fleet and the Imperial fleet. So each side has their own core fleet, and you can travel there on your starship. And when you get there, the fleets have access to a whole bunch of different activities. It's actually the main launch point for the flashpoints and the operations that Daniel was talking about earlier on. That's actually where you can meet up with a whole bunch of players, form into groups of 4, 8, 16 players, and play some of the multiplayer content. It also has access to the Galactic Trade Network, so that's where you can trade items with other players. Finally, it has some of the best vendors in the game, so you can go there to spend all your credits. It's basically a place where you can go and find hundreds of other players at the same time, join up, and do some of the group content in the game.
Let's have a quick tour. This is the Republic fleet here, you see.
So what you're seeing there, one of the advantages of buying the collector's edition is it actually, well, it gives you many, many different advantages, but one of them is the access to a VIP area on the fleets. So that's an area where basically you and your fellow collector's edition players can go and interact. It's not really, it doesn't really give you any advantage in the game other than you get to feel a little bit special whenever you visit.
There's something extremely embarrassing when you first run into the elevator and the bouncer kicks you off and points you away and tells you you have to have a VIP badge to get here.
Raise the question, you see.
How's it going, guys? I'm Nick from the previous Republic Guild, Prime Defense. Just thought I'd throw that out there. My question was, I wanted to, one of the things I like is that you guys take into consideration a lot of the feedback that you get from your testers. So a lot of things you change, like the vehicles and the look of the vehicles and the UI. There was a lot of feedback on that. One of the things I wanted to know is there anything that was previously announced that will not be ready for launch because you had to revamp it? Like I heard something maybe about guild banks not being ready at launch. Is that true?
Well, guild banks were never actually announced.
Oh,
So
okay.
that would not come into the category.
That would fit that. So was there anything that was that?
There's probably a couple of minor things, but I can't think of anything really major.
Yeah, we're very careful about announcing things that we haven't already implemented or tested in the game.
Which makes people mad a lot of the time, but it saves us from that situation right there.
Sure.
However, what we found is that people will, especially on our message boards, will sometimes announce features that we haven't even talked about, and it will kind of go viral, and suddenly it seems that we have that feature. So
Or somebody will announce that we're going to have 5,000 planets over the next decade.
Does that mean? I said
No, actually, that was Dallas, I think. He was joking. No. Oh, okay.
All right.
This is why I have a glow gun that's secreted underneath this.
It's nice meeting you guys on Wednesday.
Does anyone know the release date?
So the 20th.
So you may have heard that we did announce the release date a few weeks ago in London. I lived in London for 10 years, and in case you haven't guessed, I am English. But I'll be honest, the truth was there was at one point we were going to announce it here today at NYCC. And it didn't happen. And I love my English country, but let's be honest, we're not really known for like wild applause and enthusiasm and excitement. So when we did announce the release date, the reaction was pretty much, as I was in the room, was kind of like a polite golf clap. Jolly good show. Well done. Very good. Thank you. So what we did was we went away and we did a new game trailer for you guys. Save yourself. Because at the end of this game trailer, I want you to pretend that you've never heard the release date before. Then give me that reaction. Alright? We're going to videotape it so we can play it to people in the office and they'll be very happy. Because they were sad when they got, oh, very good.
Yeah.
Peace between Republic and Empire is crumbling. On every world, signs of war. Rebellion on Balmora. Corruption in the heart of Coruscant. Secret battles in Nova Shaddaa. Even Alderaan, consumed by chaos. The Republic's defenders still have hope. The wrath of the Empire knows no bounds. The galaxy's future will soon be decided.
Thank you very much for coming. That's all we have time for. Like I said, 6:30 p.m.